Welcome back. Hi, I'm Beatriz, and today we're going to be painting a very simple watercolor using the taped paper from our last video. The aim of the exercise is going to be the wet on wet for the big sky. So we're going to keep this sketch pretty simple. A little sailboat, kind of marking the horizon line, distant land, and maybe some sand that is close for the foreground. I try to keep my pencil lines kind of light. They're going to show a little, which is okay if perfectly fine if pencil lines show through the paintings, but try not to go too hard. Here, the aim of this exercise is to get comfortable with the wet on wet techniques without the added pressure of having to paint a full watercolor painting or more intricate watercolor painting. I'm going to make a mix with cobalt blue, a cold blue, and French ultramarine, a warm blue. Make sure you got enough so you don't have to do it again. Mix more color when you already start applying it to the paper. And then I'm also gonna get a tiny little bit of a pink permanent rose. Okay, and now we wet the paper. Since I'm only wetting the paper, I'm gonna speed up this process. I'm making sure that I'm covering the whole area with water and that I don't leave any dry spots. The paper should be very shiny and have extra water for the paint to move. It's all wet and I have extra water on the paper for the blendings that I'm gonna need. So we start applying the paint. Our cold blue goes first in the upper corner, and for this painting we're gonna apply the color in a diagonal way so that it gives us a little bit more movement since it's a big sky. First goes the cold blue, then the warm blue, and once we have those two we will do the blending, and at the very end once we have the blues blend we will bring a third color, the permanent rose. I have them in a good place right here. So we're gonna start tilting the paper so that the water blends the colors by themselves. This way I'm assured that I get good blendings without any lines. As you can see, if I tilt the board into one side or the other, the water and the color moves with it. So here all you want to do is moving it to one, to the other, but it is important that you keep your water within the paper, that it doesn't go outside onto the masking tape. Otherwise, you will lose all the ability for the painting, for the colors to blend. I'm bringing it here to the bottom, and at this point, I think that I'm pretty good. I'm gonna probably lay it flat, bring it a little bit to the corner, lay it flat, and reassert. Since the paper was having extra water, a lot of times you will find that your colors have become a little bit lighter than what you need. I still have a lot of shine in my paper, therefore I can go back with the same colors and make them stronger. Watercolor dries lighter, so this way we are sure that we're gonna have a good final result. At the bottom, the permanent rose is gonna go. And then I want to put between the cold blue in the top and the permanent rose at the bottom, I'm going to put the French ultramarine because it's a warm blue. And that way, when the warm blue mix with the permanent rose, I will get nice purples, which will give me a nice, good transition. If my permanent rose was touching the cobalt blue, I will not get those. Now I'm removing the water that is some of the water has gone up on the masking tape, so I'm removing that so that I can go ahead and restart my blendings. As you can see, now I have a little bit less water, so the color and the water moves slower, but I still get them. So mixing is still is happening here. And the part of the permanent rose is not moving as much, so I'm gonna go, no problem. I got shine, so I'm gonna go with my spray bottle and just put a little bit so that I can help it move. And now that it's moving, my permanent rose is getting into the French ultramarine, giving me the purples transitions. Pretty soon, this painting, you just move it a little bit more, but pretty soon this painting will be ready for me to lay it flat to dry in a natural way. I just gonna bring the colors, see the purples? I'm gonna bring the colors to one of the corners, and then I will lay it flat, and I'm gonna let it dry by itself. Once it's dry, we come back to continue painting. Our sky is finally dry. Let me show you. Because we let it dry in a natural way, meaning we did not use a hair dryer to speed up the process. This painting draw flat. When I let this painting, when we let the painting down, it was still a little bit of shine on it. So if you do it at home, that shine is good. We want that. But it also tells us that blending is still is happening. We want to let it in uninterrupted without touching anything. And that's how we get these beautiful skies with zero hard lines. We are starting applying the paint. The paper is dry, and we're starting with the quinacridone gold color. I'm switching to my flat brush. This color is like gold, kind of yellow. It's a very beautiful color, perfect for the sand. Where the next step will be to drop some of the green, which is in this case the undersea green, and we're gonna drop it onto the queen gold while it's wet, and we're just gonna let it blend by itself. I'm not going back with my brush. As I get closer to make the sandbank, I'm going to put the queen gold a little bit darker, meaning getting more color and a little bit less water. We do this to give the impression this part of the sand is closer to us, to the viewer, and by making it darker, it feels like that, and then the later one feels like it's farther away. I'm dropping the green, and I'm gonna also put a little bit of a brown bronze sienna. And now I'm just getting to paint the shape in the back. I'm gonna make a loosely impression of a cliff using the same green as in the front and the green sea. And it doesn't have to be perfect, just like a little bit big rock, like it goes bigger and a little bit thinner than the other side of the boat. I'm bringing a little bit of the queen gold too here, so that the colors they are present and the foreground are also present over there for giving it a little bit of unification. I'm gonna clean with my flat brush a little bit of the bottom edge. And I think I'm also gonna bring some of that under green scene, but darker, meaning using less water, thicker paint, to give a little bit of variation to the rock. And after I do this, I'm gonna speed up the process this time by drying it with a hair dryer so we can move to the next step. And now we are ready to start painting the sea. Bringing the same colors from the sky. I'm starting with the cobalt blue because it's a cold blue, to start painting kind of like a horizon line. Again, the paper is dry. What I do is I go first with color. Now I go with my brush, has only water, to spread a little bit of the color. I start with the cobalt blue. Since it's a cold blue, it will give a sense of distance. I'm saving some of the pink, the permanent rose that we were having on the paper, but if we need more, I feel like we do, we just drop it. And I continue going down with these two colors, the permanent rose and the cobalt blue, and water. Um, I want to have a little bit more water and by the sea, by the boat, because that will give it a sense of distance. So what I'm gonna do is bring some water, drop some water in there, and then with my paper, I'm gonna lift a little bit of that slightly, and that way I get that. Now we're switching to my French ultramarine, and I'm starting at the bottom, which it will make it closer. Is a warmer blue, and again I'm putting the paint, and then I go a little bit over with a brush that only has water on it. The next step, while this is wet, is I go and make thin lines, almost like if the ripples of color, and right after I'll go with water to smoothen them out. Here, after I made a very dark brown using burnt sienna and the undersea green that we've been using, I start painting some of the edges of the sand, giving it more like a 3D look instead of a floating sand. The important thing here is to drop it in some places, some thicker, some thinner, but that you don't contour everything so that it looks more natural. Using the same colors but diluted with water, so mainly brown sienna, burnt sienna with undersea green, I start dropping shadows on on the sand. First, I drop the color, and then I go with the flat brush with only water and spreading the color in a uneven way so that it looks more natural. And the more bright side, I go with only queen gold and do the same thing. And we're ready to paint our boat using cadmium red and a black that was mixed by mixing together burnt sienna and French ultramarine. The aim here is when the black paint touches the red that it will be blending. We don't want to have a hard edge. If needed, you can go back and forth with the two colors till you get a nice blending. Once that happens, we will be ready to anchor the boat by putting the reflections in the water, which is gonna be the nest. We accomplish this by putting some ripples with the black color and also the red color, since both colors of the boat will be reflected on the water. We do some in the front. I apply the paint, then go with my flat brush that has only water, and then I try to put some of those ripples on the sides. By doing this, the boat feels like it's in the water instead of floating. The last thing to do is paint the mast of the boat with a small brush. I get the same black, go first with paint, then just with water, and our painting is done. Okay, our little sketch slash painting is done. Now let's remove the tape so we can see our clean edges. This is always so satisfying. So we find a good place to start. And voila. And here it is, all finished. In this video, we practiced the wet on wet and dry techniques, and we end up with a cute little painting that we can be proud of. I hope that you have fun painting along with me. I thank you for being here, and I will see you in my next video.